process last year are not a support professional. If you are a teacher who has gone through the process, your SLOs are not due until October 25th. And then final approval for them would be November 1. If you have handed in your SLO and you are concerned about its contents, or you want to revise it, you may take it back and do so. Okay? For those of you who are support professionals who will be handing in SOOs, student outcome objectives, your due date is not until November 18th. No, I'm sorry, November 8th. I apologize. It's November 8th. Your SOOs are due November 8th for final approval by November 15th. All right. All of this information has been loaded into the handbook, which is on the website. And a memo will be coming out from the district. And a memo will be coming out from me via Jenga mail. Okay? Yes, sir. Now, one of the things that you all need to remember is that this is a gradual implementation year for you. So just like educators, teachers, 2 years ago, when they had gradual implementation, they were held harmless, which means that they cannot make a job action against you based on your effectiveness rating this year. All right? So this is a practice year. They don't call it a practice year, but it is a practice year. You will not be writing 2 SOOs, you will only be writing 1 SOO. All right? I know, you can thank me later.
Thank you now.
So you're going to be writing 1 SOO. You're also going to be writing 1 PGG, which is a professional growth goal. I'll go over that as well. That will be due at the same time, thank you, the same time that your SLOs are due. All right? So, teachers, October 25th, they're all due by close of business that day, and final approval will be November 1. Support professionals is November 8th. Wow, I remember something. And approval by November 15th. This will be coming out to you either via your principal or via me. It's going to come through Jenga mail. I suggest you download it, highlight it, put it up somewhere, okay? In Florida, they talked about SLOs. They sent people out into focus groups, and they said, these are your guiding principles. We want to know where your kids are, and we want to know how you're going to get there, and what means you're going to do it. Teachers came up with these extremely rigorous, very rich SLOs. Okay? All right. So to put it simply, results matter. It's not all about teachers, but it is about all students. It's not necessarily about whether teachers teach, it's about whether students learn. SLOs measure student learning. SLOs, improving student learning, is at the center of our work. Teachers have the greatest school-based impact on student learning. Research shows that student learning improves when teachers set goals. We know that already. That's what we do. Sir, there are chairs over here. I don't know if you want to be that close to me, but... All right, SLOs recognize and encourage the work that excellent teachers do in their classrooms. You'll see this is a triangle. You can't really see it very well. This is the same triangle that we use when we talk about educator evaluation. And at the heart of the triangle are student learning objectives. They have curriculum instruction, data use and comprehensive assessment system, Common Core, and other assessments. SLOs are essential to instruction. And the research shows, one of the things that they said yesterday at CTEC was, there's a direct correlation. People who write rigorous SLOs that are attainable show improved student achievement in their classes. It's a direct correlate. Again, you're going to look at these 3 things: district priorities, administrator SLOs, and teacher SLOs. This is a process. So just like when you hand in your SOO or your SLO, the game is not over. If there's an issue with a rigor of target or the content, you will get your SLO back to make adjustments. Sure, no problem.
Anybody else need a chair? No problem.
You also have the middle of the year, or MOY, to do mid-course corrections. Should the dynamics of your class change, or the group of people that you're servicing, should that change, you may make an adjustment. Okay, thanks. All right? Should you, and this has actually just happened to me, should you teach something different than when you started teaching and you wrote your SLO? This cracks me up when they say all educators will do at least 2, but no more than 4. Who in their right mind would choose to do 4 SLOs? Because I want to meet that person, because you're not right. Something needs to be done. All right. This is the basic premise on SLOs. There are 3 main staples to SLOs: priority of content, rigor of target, and quality of evidence. Your priority content includes your objective statement, your rationale, aligned to standards, which is not a priority for you guys. You guys aren't going to do standards, you're going to do something else. Students that you're working with, and your interval of instruction. If you're a semesterized school and you're teaching a semesterized course, then you write for the semester. If you are a year long, then you put 2013, 14, and go on to the next cell. Rigor of target. What is your baseline data? What are your targets, and what's the rationale for your targets? In the rationale for targets, I strongly suggest that you use your expertise and past practices. So, you know that you've been teaching ELA for X number of years, grade 7, and the trends in those classes show you that if kids start here, it's more than likely they're going to end up here. You can use that information in your rationale. There's a seat right up here, ma'am, if you need it. And then you're going to have evidence source, administration, and scoring if you're writing an SLO. So you're going to be asking yourself essential questions. What is the most important knowledge or skills? So this is for either an SLO or SOO. What is the most important knowledge or skills I want my students to attain by the end of the interval of instruction? Where are my students now at the beginning of the instruction with respect to the objective? Based on what I know about my students, where do I expect them to be by the end of the interval of instruction? And how will I demonstrate that, or how will they demonstrate that?
There was an equation of the score in the first place.
So if you're using last year's data for your rationale, it's just that, last year's data for your rationale. But if you should be using it for baseline. You should be using,
Clean.
right, you need clean data that comes from right now.
Okay.
Do not use what
Anything
happened
that-
before. No, for the same reason why you wouldn't use grades. Because if you have 2 different teachers, I could say that behavior is half my grade, and this person could say that behavior is none of my grade, but it's, did you meet the standard? We could be grading differently, we could be grading on different levels, we could be grading different things, so we don't use that information. So I would say, I would not use that information. What I would use for my SLOs is what I know as a professional about my experiences based on what I've done with this population of kids over the course of X number of years.
So clear them out based on the baseline data, of course.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Now we are.
Providing a context as to why we're writing SLOs and where they came from. So you're going to see, I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of an SLO and an SOO. You're going to see that there are very great similarities, but then there are a few nuances that are different for SOO, okay? So, zonal proximal development in SOOs and SLOs. Things a student can do without assistance, and then the things a student cannot do even with assistance. This is information that you need to have. So if you're a person who has, I don't know. Let me think for a second. Oh, I'm gonna do it. All right, if you're a high school person who used to have inclusive kids and they were LD students, but now you're a high school person and they've pushed in a population of severe and profound into your general education courses, you need to identify the fact that there are certain things that those children cannot do in your class without X, Y, and Z modifications. Okay? And the reason being is because on the spectrum, because the IEP says so, any one of those things. All right? Where you need to be on Teachgate. Yes, ma'am.
Just a question. If you're able to get on to do a professional development, then you're attached to
Yes, you
Teachgate.
should be.
Okay.
So the reflect part
Right,
is
right.
going to be your lesson plan, et cetera.
Exactly.
The learn part is the
okay,
professional
so then
development.
we're all set.
You're all right. So to log in, please make sure that you're going to login.teachgate. If you go to teachgate.com, you're in the wrong place. It's login.teachgate. If you go to teachgate.com, you're going to see a gray screen because that was what we used last year. It's been changed. So login.teachgate.com. Then your first name, dot your last name at PPSD, and then whatever your password is. Last year it was Teach13. Okay? Again, if you don't know your username or your password or anything, email me tomorrow and I will let you know.
It's capital, even though our email isn't capital. It doesn't matter.
No, doesn't matter. That's not case sensitive, but the password is. Okay? All right. Finding, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So this is Teachgate. So this is a pretend teacher, Providence Teacher 1. 2013-24 Educator Evaluation. Professional growth goal, student outcome, or learning objectives. You're going to click on that link. This is on Reflect. See Reflect? You only go to Learn for professional development, okay, and to watch the videos if you so choose.
Mary Beth, can you do that, Mark?
Yep. So, when you go up and the first screen comes up on Teachgate, right? It's a little guy over here and then there's a word and then there's two things that say Teachgate Reflect and Teachgate Learn. Reflect. Thank you.
Don't get me confused now.
I'm sorry. I apologize. You're going to know that you're on Reflect
Right,
because there's a little icon up there that says so.
okay.
And it shows you your menu. You're going to make sure that it says 2013-14 and not 2012-13. Okay? Professional growth goal. You want to type your professional growth goal. You click on that. And then you type it right into the screen. Student learning objectives and student outcome objectives are right here. Formal observation will go here. This is where your lesson plan is.
Okay.
And for those of you, I know. This is me anticipating anxiety. This is where your lesson plan is, or your planning in preparation for something related to what you do. So for example, if you're a school nurse teacher and you plan a Healthy Kids Fair, or you plan a blood drive, or you plan the dentist coming and it requires preparation and planning, that's something that you may submit as an artifact for your lesson plan. If you are a library media specialist and you plan a RIF event, or a book drive, or a book fair, and anything that you have to do related to that planning and preparation for that event can be submitted under planning and preparation. If you are a person who's a library media specialist and teaches a class, then you can choose to do the SLO and write a lesson plan and be observed in that class. Did I answer your question or no?
Well,
Kind of.
yes, but then somebody else brought up another point about it. I think that when they, last week when they brought it up, is one, for those support staff, school psychologists and social workers, the state model does not include a lesson plan.
This is not the state model.
But no, I know, so for us, that was the original thing that we got, so we didn't know about it. And then what the gentleman said last week is that while it isn't a lesson plan, the lesson plan rubric will be used to measure it.
It's not complete for. Standard 3 is specific to your educator type. So I will have a rubric for school nurse teachers, library media specialists, social workers, school counselors, psychologists, thank you, I'm looking at somebody, coaches,
Speech pathologists.
speech and language pathologists, okay? Each
Don't
have
forget
their
on your
rubric.
team members, don't forget
Get
us.
your team members. Okay? Yeah, team members, she's a team, so it'll. Each individual educator type, so I'm gonna take all of the library media specialists and bring them together. And through the library media specialist having a meeting, we are going to come up with considerations and indicators for standards 2, 3, and 4. Library, media specialists, they'll be done. That information will be shared with everyone, including administrators. Then I will have school nurse teachers. We will do indicators and implications and considerations for standard 1, 2, and 4. Speech and language, social workers, psychologists. I will have individual meetings with each one of those educator types so that we can identify indicators and considerations for those parts of the rubric that do not directly apply to you because they were originally written for educators who are in front of teachers every single day. Okay?
Is
Sorry.
that all going to be on Monday? Or is
No,
that?
heck no.
So,
I'm good. I'm not that good.
So to follow up with that, so each of those groups you mentioned
Yes,
will have an opportunity to get together and discuss.
absolutely. In the next few weeks.
And the second addendum to that is with the program on Monday.
Yes.
If you're unable to attend that, where is the information we can get?
Once I'm finished with Monday,
Yeah.
all of that will go on the educator evaluation website on PPSD.
Okay.
The rubric will go up there. I think it's already up there, actually. The PowerPoint that I'm going to do with you will go up there. Any considerations that are already there will go up there. The individual rubrics for individual educator types will all be on the educator evaluation.
So what you'll be discussing, will most of that information will be accessible to us?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Thank you.
that.
So he asked, after Monday, if you can't come on Monday, how will you find anything out? And I said, after Monday's professional development, all of that information will go on the PPSD website under educator evaluation. So the rubrics will be there, I think you're already there now, but the PowerPoint will be there. The other rubric will be there, which is the Charlotte Davidson Teachgate one that we're looking at 1, 2, and 4, and then you guys will have your own 3, standard 3. Yes, ma'am.
so the deadlines that a lot of people have been hearing for other things like the personal growth goals and the lesson plan, what are those deadlines?
Will you hear it? So once you've done that, SOO, it will show up on your profile, all right? And it tells you when you submitted it or when it was completed by. Now, I'm gonna tell you, once you submit your SLO the first time, or SOO, depending upon what it is. I keep reverting back to SLO because I've been doing it for 4 years. SLO or SOO. Once you submit it the first time, the administrator will review it, and they'll either accept it, or they'll send it back to you for review and revision. Once you revise it, you send it in, that's it. You spend the rest of the year until midterm working to attain that, so you're doing progress monitoring or you're doing different activities or strategies to get to that point. At the mid-year, if you have information that would lead you to believe that you are not going to attain your SLO or SOO, you need to have an appointment with your administrator/evaluator. Go to them and say to them, I'm not going to make my SLO or SLO, and these are the reasons why. Now, it can't be because I don't want to. It can't be because I can't stand these kids, they won't do a thing for me. It needs to be valid, reliable information. For example, if the dynamics of your class has changed, if the dynamics of your group that you've taken has changed, if you're doing a group, a grieving group or whatever, if you have 3 kids who leave the group and 4 more kids who come in and they have significant post-traumatic stress disorder, those significantly change the dynamics of your class or group that you're servicing, you may need to rethink what your outcome is going to be at the end of the instructional/service period. Okay? 2 hands, yes ma'am and yes ma'am.
When you write your SOO,
Yep,
you send it in,
yep,
and they send it back to you for revision, will they give you feedback?
absolutely. Absolutely. If you look, I don't want to get there. It'll get money.
Just that.
Yes, you will be provided feedback. They're not just going to say, here, do this over. They're going to have to tell you which area, in the 3 areas that I identified, quality of evidence, rigor of target, those things. They're going to have to tell you what area you need assistance in and what you may do to beef up your objective. Okay? This is new for administrators. So 2 questions. 2 questions. 1, if you are a speech and language pathologist, do you talk about a group or do you talk about your entire caseload? Or individuals? I personally would not do an SOO on an individual student. Too narrow. You will probably not, you're not going to have a huge data set. You're not going to have any wiggle room. The way that goes is if you have a kid and they either make it or they don't. So that means you either make it or you don't. The larger your data set is, the more likely you are to achieve the goal. Okay? Alan asked, have all of the evaluators been assigned yet? And I said no, and there was rumblings because people have already gotten letters.
If you're an elective and so your children change at mid-year,
Yep.
right? You have to give us both SLOs now, or you submit another SLO for another group of students that come in at the second part of the year?
So you can submit both your SLOs now, and the only thing that will change is the baseline and the target. So you can talk about the students, et cetera, and you can talk about where they are and where they, the rationale and all that stuff, but you won't know the baseline until they come in. The same holds true for semesterized courses. So if you look at the Educator Evaluation Handbook online, it'll explain to you in detail what that looks like, so how you go about doing that. But my caution would be, it's October 2nd. They're not due till October 25th. The first semester ends January. That's not a lot of time to gather data. Just saying. So, and in the handbook today is the latest timelines for you all. So it'll say that I know, but I know that your beginning of the years aren't supposed to happen until around Thanksgiving.
Okay, thank you. Same school.
Okay? Yes, sir.
So I don't,
Hang on a second, guys. So that Maria asked if there was going to be a template for the planning and preparation. So it's kind of broad. The lesson plan template that's up there now is just a couple of questions that you need to answer about the way that you're planning. So beyond what standard does it attach to, I will rework that and get it up on Teachscape, but we all know how fast Teachscape is. I will see if I can get that done in the next couple of weeks for you guys. All right, but yours is going to be more paragraphed and, this is the standard that's aligned to, this is my students in my class, these are the expectations, this is the outcomes, this is my assessment procedure. Yours is not going to look like that, okay? Yours is more global. Yes?
If no one contacts you, ever,
we're good.
because we're way on the bottom of the totem pole.
You're the
most of
rest
us.
of them.
And I have all new administrators in the building, so I may be left out of a little. Is it our responsibility to at some point say to them, when are you going to evaluate me?
So, yes, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. So the question was, for those of you who couldn't hear, is it our responsibility to notify administrators that they haven't evaluated you yet, and when will they? And my answer to that is yes. Because the expectation from RIDE is that every educator in a school system will have an effectiveness rating that is sent to them at the end of the year. So if I have 1,999 names with effectiveness ratings, and then I have Mary Beth Calabro with nothing next to her name, I'm going to be calling the district that she works for. I'm also going to call her and I'm going to say, what do you mean you didn't get evaluated? All right? I will tell you this. Any correspondence that you have with an administrator about your evaluation should be via email. Not in TeachGate, via email. You have a copy and you have a date stamp and a time stamp on your email so that come off chance that you don't get evaluated and there's a problem, I can say with all surety that teacher X contacted principal Y on 16 different occasions and still he or she chose not to evaluate them. That's a conversation that their leader or the HR director needs to have with them. It is their responsibility as administrators to go through the process of evaluation with every person in their building. Okay? So basically, CYA in an email.
To have face-to-face conversations, would you rather that we also then go and
Follow it up with an email. If you're talking to, if I'm your principal and you walk by and you say, hey, Ms. Calabro, you haven't been to my room or whatever, my office, whatever. And I go, yeah, I'll be there next Tuesday. You just say, dear Ms. Calabro, I saw you in the hallway today. Remember the conversation we had about you coming in, blah, blah, blah. Just wanted to follow up and secure the date. Okay? Do not, it's very difficult. This is very difficult for me to say because I am fresh as hell. Do not be snarky, sarcastic, or fresh, like, hello, sorry, you have a job, you think you might get to me sometime today? No. That does not bode well for you in evaluation. Just say, dear Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, the timelines are this. We have not had our formal, informal, our in-person, whatever the case may be. Could you please contact me at your earliest convenience and let me know when that would be happening? Thank you. Okay, yes.
For the past 2 years, none of us have been evaluated. Is there anything what does it say on RIDE about us? Does it say not evaluated the support staff, or does it have an effectiveness rating? Like,
There's no effectiveness rating, it just says that you're support staff.
Okay.
So, after the scary meeting last Thursday,
We weren't going there.
I freaked out after I saw the must have a lesson plan in by October 1st, no exceptions. That was told to us like 8 times. So I pulled the lesson plan out and typed it in. Now, I don't usually teach classes.
I'll take it back.
I can take it back and then submit it. Okay.
Absolutely. If you have submitted, if you have been forced to, asked to, intimidated to, submitted anything that has to do with this evaluation process, go to your administrator and ask them, tell them, don't ask them, tell them that you're taking it back, you want to rework it based on the new timelines, okay? Follow that up with an email. Dear sir, madam, whatever, I submitted my lesson plan in haste on October 1 because I believe that was the due date. However, based on the new timelines from the superintendent, I realized that I would like to take it back and work on it further. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Is there a certain date that we should know who our evaluator is?
On TeachGate. Yeah, It should come, yeah, it should come up on Teach Tape, and you should have gotten a letter, but if you haven't, obviously before the BOY started, I gave them, I know, more letters, that's good stuff. If not, let me know and I'll figure out who you're evaluating. Okay? Your BOYs, beginning of years, your BOYs should happen sometime after you submit your PGGs and SLOs. Okay? You have nothing to talk about if you haven't submitted your SLO or SOO. There's nothing to talk about. You go to your BOY beginning of year to talk about what your SOO is. Okay. So, an SLO versus an SOO. This is the decision tree. Some of you have emailed me and said, do I write an SLO? Do I write an SOO? You should have a tree in your, one of the things I gave you, okay? So, the first question. You primarily provide instruction to the whole class. Actually, go ahead and hand out this stuff.
It's the back of another handout.
Okay. So the first question asked, do you provide instruction? Whole class, small group, or one-on-one? If the answer is yes, then you set 2 SLOs. Small group, whole class, one-on-one, 2 SLOs. If you provide instruction, not services, you provide instruction, okay? If you do not, you go to the no. Do you primarily provide specialized services, speech and language people, or manage programs, team members, okay? Political team, elementary, I forgot your whole title, I apologize. If that's a yes, you write 2 SOOs next year. This year you're only writing 1. Okay? Don't panic. I'm not fibbing. 1 SOO this year. If it's a no, is your role a combination of providing instruction and providing specialized services and or managing instruction or managing a program? You don't instruct. If the answer to that is yes, you can write 1 and 1. If you have an entire class, speech and language people, if you have an entire class, an MMR class or autism class, by which you do a whole group lesson, and you want to do 1 SLO and 1 SOO, be my guest. But for this year, yeah, be my guest. But for this year, you only have to choose 1. And if I were you, I'd choose the SOO. It's a lot easier. Yes, ma'am.
Can you use the same one next year?
Yeah, it's a different class. It's a different class and a different set of students. Right? There may be some, but not all. Right. All right. If the answer is no, you will determine with your evaluator. That's not how we roll here. So it will be an SLO or an SOO, depends upon what you want to do. All right? So Marianne and then.
But they recommended, whoever she spoke to at RIDE told her, SLOs would be much easier than an SLO.
So SLOs need to gather baseline data, which means you have to have an assessment of some kind. It means that you have to assess all of your students. And then you have to progress monitor for the 160 days or 104, by the time I get finished with this timeline, it'll be 110 days with your kids. And then you have to do a final assessment. And based on the baseline, you have to say how much growth kids are going to make in that interval of instruction. You feel like doing that? God bless you. Have a party. I can't imagine how anyone would say that someone who is a support professional who has such global thoughts and global ways to service children would do this, and how, if I were a nurse, school nurse teacher, how would I get a baseline of my kids? How am I going to test everybody's going to pee in a cup. I got to First 5 kids to bring a hamster to school. Got it. All right. Yes, Kelly.
So this applies to math and reading coaches. We fall more, I think fall under the 2 SLOs, but we do have that point where we do instruction, but it's to all over the place. It's not a select group all the time. It's a different room every day.
I would do 2 SOOs.
So no
Or
one,
maybe one
no one can tell
Well,
us
for this year.
that-
For this year, it's 1.
so that it's not going to come from downtown that we must do an SLO and an SOO. It's going to be our decision right now to make that call.
First of all, they meet with me to find out what they have to do. Not that I'm not saying that. If you're a support professional such as a coach, and you impact different classrooms by going in and doing mini lessons or model lessons, that's fine. But how do you baseline that group, and then how do you come back when someone else is instructing for the other 179 days of the year? That makes no sense.
Exactly. So what's the difference between that and SLO?
Right here. So, I'm going to let you look here. SLOs are on the left and SOOs are on the right. The print is not very good because it's a screenshot. So in an SLO, the essential question, what are the most important knowledge and skills I want my students to retain? And then we talked about, after the interval of instruction, whatever that may be, semesterized or a whole year. Essential question is objective statement, rationale, and aligned standards. This is for an SLO. Then they want to know, where are they now in respect to the objective? That's where you get your baseline. And again, how are school nurse teachers or speech and language pathologists or coaches going to get baseline data when they service so many people, but they may not necessarily service that child again? Okay? And then, essential question, based on what I know about my students, where do I expect them to be? What's the target? What's the rationale? And what is your evidence? How do we know that what you said you were going to do, based on the baseline, is what they actually achieved? And SOO, okay. So an SOO has the same strategies and the same essential questions. What are the most important knowledge or skills that I want my students to obtain? But if you notice, there's no aligned standard here. You're going to have an objective statement, and you're going to provide a rationale for that. There's no standards there. Essential questions. Where are they in respect to your objective? Baseline information. That's anecdotal information based on your knowledge as a professional in working with this body, whether it be about bullying or whether it be about healthy schools or whether it be about healthy kids or the lunchroom or any number of those things. That's what your baseline is going to be. Then your essential question is, based on what you know, where do you want them to be? Your target, your rationale, your evidence sources. And evidence sources, underneath that is strategies. So those of you who have strategies that you use with your children, whether it be a counseling strategy or a speech and language strategy, those pieces of information will be provided in this part of your SOO. Yes, ma'am.
Because I submitted it the other day, there was no spot for foot strategies.
Miss Nicole. Yes. Oh, you have missed some fun stuff. I was told this was a great group. It is a great group. I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast. Hello, everybody. What's your question? But you know the conversation that we always have about it's not the teachers? Oh, absolutely. Okay. We'll talk. Colleen.
I apologize for another question. So mostly what I do, our coaches, a lot of our work is with teachers. So really mine's like more of a TOO. Can I do a TOO or? Yeah, good luck.
Don't worry. So as a coach
Yeah.
and a specialist, you do directly work with
Teachers.
teachers. Teachers are your students. Teachers are your students.
Yeah.
Staff development.
Yeah, see, we're really staff developers supporters, so
It is really.
it's a really.
So the question was, excuse me one second. The question was, how do administrators write SLOs and SOOs? And I said they write about the students. So they say, all students in 5th grade, and then they tear it out based on where they started, this is where they're gonna end. So they don't talk about teachers in their SLOs. Okay, yes ma'am. Did you have a question
Well,
or a
that's what I'm
statement?
saying, if we did TOOs, it'd be kind of evaluative, we're saying these teachers will.
Correct.
And that's, we don't wanna get in that.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I'm just thinking out loud, but like, as a math coach, I'm thinking for, like, getting a grade level and saying my SLO.
So I was just gonna say, so what you may need to do is think about grade levels and moving grade levels based on your support of the teachers, moving the grade level.
So it's
From point
goes
A
more
to
to
point
an
B.
SLO than an SOO. Because now you're based on
Right.
student data
Right.
and not student output.
This is really
But
tricky.
it's not my data because it's not my data.
You're going to write a professional growth goal. I'm gonna stop here for a minute because I don't have a lot of slides on professional, I don't think I have any. Professional growth goal. Professional growth goal is one goal that you, the educator, write about yourself and how you want to improve on your practice, whatever your practice may be. Your professional growth goal may be, and everybody does it, parent engagement. However, look at the rubric, the way the rubric was changed, parent communication now adds the layer of two-way parent communication and trying to bring parents into the school. Okay? So you need to be clear, if you're choosing parent engagement, what that means as part of the rubric. If you do nothing else in this evaluation process, you need to know that rubric. It is imperative that you know that rubric. We had literally dozens of teachers last year show up to conferences not even knowing that there was a rubric. Never having read the rubric, didn't know that there was a website. How do you expect to be an active participant in the process if you do not participate in the learning that gets you to the end of the process? We offered, out of my office, over 6 different modules on the rubric, on the evaluation process, more than 44 opportunities per module, and in total, I had 600 teachers come out of 2,000. Total. Add them all up, and that's all I got. Okay? There will be other modules around teacher evaluation or educator evaluation that will be provided for you. There will be a rubric study. Like I said, we're going to have focus groups that talk about considerations and indicators for each one of your educator types. There will be one on conferencing. There will be one around the end of the year and feedback. Okay? Yes, sir.
Yeah, where do we find?
So the rubric is currently on the educator evaluation website, which is on PPSD. So if you go on the providenceschools.org website, and on the page, on the front page, when you scroll down to Dr. Lucy's picture, a pretty yellow, red dress or orange dress, I think it's on the right-hand side, they keep moving it on me. there's a link that says educator evaluation. That page will pop up. There will be information about last year, and then there'll be all information about this year, which will include the rubric with standards 1, 2, and 4, also known as the Danielson option. And then there's going to be the support professionals rubric up there. There's also a template of the SOO, SLO worksheet. There's a lesson plan template. There's the educator evaluation handbook, which I suggest you get to know really, really well, because it has your dates in it. It tells you your timelines, what's expected.
Actually, Mary Beth, I haven't sent that to the web developer yet.
Oh,
It should be up like tomorrow. So what's up now is the old version, as of Monday, it's old.
Yes.
And the updated one should be up tomorrow, and what I've done is I've included a column for support professionals. As a matter of fact, you come first.
Oh.
First, so
See?
all
So,
the dates are there.
those of you who couldn't hear Miss Onier, and I don't know if you all know Miss Onier, but that's Nicole Onier. She's my boss.
We're colleagues.
And she's, I always get her title wrong. So she's the executive director of performance management. So Nicole, like she said, we had to redo the handbook one more time to account for all the changes in the dates, and that will be live tomorrow, fingers crossed. So I wouldn't refer to today's handbook. I would wait till tomorrow when it says new splashed across it. That would be the one that I would use, and I would download it, and highlight it, and mark it up, and just keep it at your hands. Yeah, I don't remember. How many pages is it, Nicole? I don't remember.
Now it's 13 pages.
13 pages.
On Monday it was 9.
But there is a lot of information there about STAR, and there's a lot of information about this frequently asked questions. There's a side-by-side like this of what's expected of you, the dates that they're expected, et cetera, et cetera. Erica?
Is the rubric
No, the rubric is not in the handbook. The rubric is separate and apart, but it's on that page.
It's listed under RI, Innovation Consortium, Educator
Nope,
Evaluation.
not that one.
It says Support Professional Evaluation
Yes.
Rubric, and that's the link
This is
underneath
it. This is the rubric. This is what it looks like. So 2013, and then it says Innovation Evaluation Model Descriptors of Practice Rubric for Support Professionals, Danielson option. That's yours.
Okay, the link underneath, it says Support Professional Evaluation Rubric.
Yep.
And the link underneath that says Rhode Island Innovation Consortium, Educator Evaluation and Support.
Right.
So the rubric is in that link.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
No, this is different. The rubric and the handbook are two separate things. The rubric will guide you through the standards, the expectations, and the considerations. The handbook will guide you through the process in that it gives you timelines, it gives you frequently asked questions. Yes, ma'am.
Does going back to the PGG, does that actually have to link with your SLO
No.
or SOO?
Nope.
Two separate things.
The two separate things. Your professional growth goal is just that. It's a professional growth goal. If you want to get better at formative assessment, and these are the things that you're going to do, that can be your professional growth goal. If you want to get better at technology. Okay, I don't suggest you put like get more depth at creating files, etc.
Good afternoon, guys. I just want to give you a real quick suggestion of how you can make life much easier for yourself. But Mary Beth, by the way, has done a yeoman's job as usual. I want to thank her. So the first thing you need to do as soon as you're able to is clear out some time for yourselves and go to the Educator Evaluator website and just play with it. You need to know what's there. Because once you know what's there, then you'll know where to go get the answers when you need them without, because sometimes if you're trying to find us, I have a phone that does everything. So if even if I'm in the restroom, I can actually email you back. I don't like to, but you know. But my point is, you don't want to always have to rely on a human being when you can go and find the information for yourself. So what we're trying to do is create an evaluation website that will allow you at your leisure to go and seek what you need. And then if you have questions, then ask us. But a lot of you will feel a lot better. I promise you, your anxiety level will go down if you just take a moment to review that website. So that's number one. Secondly, you need to understand your rubric. I can't say that enough. Mary Beth has said it. We say it every single time. If you don't understand that rubric, then you're pretty much putting your life in someone else's hands. You should know the rubric better than your evaluator. So when you're in a conference with your evaluator and he or she is pointing something out, you should know that rubric well enough to say, I'm wondering if we can take a look at the rubric because I'm wondering if the language actually matches. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You need to know that rubric as well as, if not better than, your evaluator. I'm an administrator, but I was a teacher as well. So I'm going to say this again. You need to empower yourself and understand that rubric at a very deep level. If you want to hit the mark of 3 and 4, that's great and that's ambitious, especially the 4s, then you need to understand what it takes to get to that level. Don't assume by looking at the little title that you understand what they're asking you. You need to really read it. You need to underline, you need to highlight, you need to study. If there are opportunities in your school for you to work with other teachers to do a rubric study, that would be great. But don't wait for that. Don't wait for Mary Beth and don't wait for Nicole. Do it on your own. Get together with some of your colleagues that you really get along well with, that you can actually get some work done with, and start doing that on your own. The better you know that rubric, the better you will feel about the work you're doing. When you fill out the PGG, people are wondering about PGGs. When you actually look at the form, really, if you can read those questions and understand they're very basic questions, it leads you right through the development of your PGG, and it's all about you. So me, if I'm your evaluator, I can't tell you, no, I don't want you to do that PGG. What I can say is, tell me more, because I'm not really clear as to what you're trying to accomplish. You see the difference? So if you feel strongly that there's something that you want to improve about yourself, about your practice, then you need to be able to demonstrate that through a very thoroughly completed application. Answer the questions, and then when you're done with your lesson plan, your PGG or SLO, you always, when your PGG and your lesson plan, go back to the rubric. Remember, the lesson plan is standard 1, or whatever you're going to do for standard 1. Maybe it's not a lesson plan, but whatever that is, you've got to look at that standard 1 and make sure that you're hitting the mark in those 3s and 4s every time. So those are the 3 pieces of information I would give you, that I would say if you could do these things within the next couple of days, it would make you feel a lot more confident in what you're doing. Review that educator evaluation website very, very well. Make sure you know what's there. Really begin to look at that rubric and make sure you understand it. And the third thing is become familiar with that handbook, because almost all of the information you need is contained in those 13 pages. Anything you ever wanted to know about STAR is there, trust me. Your process, where it says, if you don't believe what we're saying, it's in writing, 1 SOO. It's in writing there. You can see your process from start to finish. And remember, the last thing is, this is a learning year for you, so you should take advantage of that. You can make all the mistakes you want, right? And when do we learn best? When we make mistakes. We don't learn when everything is going peachy keen. We learn when we make mistakes. So use this as that opportunity to play with this, learn, and chill. I think I wrote that in one of my bulletins. Relax. It's all good. Relax. It's going to be a fun experience. It's going to give you, it will be, because you're going to get to, as Colleen has pointed out a lot of times already during the time I've been here, this is an opportunity for you to engage with your colleagues. Now you're almost relying upon each other, right, to work together to move your students. In many cases, some of what you're trying to do with your SOO will be dependent on another colleague in your school. So this is an opportunity to have some really sound conversations, to support each other and work with each other for the benefit of you personally and, of course, of your students as well. So that's the best advice I can give you. If you don't know anything else after you leave here, just remember those things. Website, the rubric, the handbook, and chill. All right? All right. So, when we talk about scoring or rating, there's exceptional attainment, full attainment, partial attainment, and minimal attainment. The 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. You might want to put that down the side, because we're going to come back to it when we talk about the matrix. So it's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now,